Here we go.
Steve Marsh. Next person. Hang on, I pressed that one too.
We're back.
We are back. Round
stopped
two.
raining. It's been raining a while.
I was thinking today, some cool introduction. How can I talk about fucking Steve Marsh? But look, we were just great mates. We used to live together. Yes. We were just good mates. You taught me how to ride a trials bike. Oh, I'll take my glasses off again. Semi-professional. Good to have you here again.
Yep.
Steve Marsh.
I'm here.
There we go. I've got these buttons. I'm going to get better at this. We're going to have some fun here now. Don't you worry about that. Now, I'll still start the question the same way, the interview the same way. Asked you the question, if you could be an animal, what animal would you be? You've answered it once. How do you go second time?
Yeah. I still like the bird thing. A peregrine falcon, they're pretty lethal little birds. They sweep. They're really fast.
You've narrowed it down a little bit.
They're pretty cool. I just saw one before on something, so it was, awesome. But I'd like to bring up something that was on my mind after the last interview. And we talked about the first time I won the Australian Championships, and there was 3 of us in the finals, and it really did my head in because we talked about who. I knew it was Bruce Hamley, but who was the other person? And I felt really bad about it, and because we said Ewan Gelly, and I thought
he was there, but not in the final.
I went with that, but I don't even think he rode that year. I think he was just the previous year's winner.
That was me.
Anyway, it was Ben Hayes, and I feel really bad about not mentioning that or not remembering it because it was a, very important time of my life, and, he's an absolute legend and an awesome rider.
That is very nice of you to say that for him, and,
Yeah, well...
Shows who you are.
He deserves it.
Shows who you are. And, you think... And a lot of the guys are hesitant to say, who and when... who was your favourite? And it's like, well, I don't want to leave someone out. So if you start naming people, there's more than one person in there.
That's right. And it's, you can get yourself into trouble by, memories of how you've remembered something, and then someone bring up that, oh, no, that didn't happen that way. It was like this. Sure, but... That's how I remembered it.
The comment that we posted about the starting of the Inside Line Mountain Bike Club, and then people kind of say, it was this and that, and it's like, well, we weren't trying to say this was my interpretation of what I saw. You know?
Yeah,
and you and I were both.
Yeah, and look, in the end, that's been great because that's really brought that topic up. And
it's incredible how this community
talk about it.
Really,
so,
they're passionate about it.
Yeah.
I was there and I was a part of it, and it was a bit of this. It's like, brilliant.
And actually,
bring it on.
When all that happened, I think I was involved with, a lot of those people, and it sort of did bring back the memories. Oh, yeah, the Couriers, of course, that's where it all began. But I still remember to the day that, I think something needed to happen more formal, and that was that night. So, anyway.
And it was Couriers, and we've just had the boys in here, and it's so cool to have Dan, Courier Dan
the man,
dancourier.com. He can fully claim legitimacy to creating the name of the mountain bike club that is here in South Australia, the oldest downhill mountain bike club in Australia.
So good.
Full kudos to the bike couriers.
Totally.
Do a bit of that. Yes, they deserve it.
Yeah.
All right.
They do.
Back to you, Steve Marsh. Like we started a podcast. You're in the first 5, my top 5 favourites. And the rain came. We had to stop.
Yes.
We talked about you kind of been younger. You'd finished school. You're going to motorbike trials. You started push bike trials.
Yep.
Let's take off from there. And okay, you're now competing in push bike trials. What year? Take it away.
Yeah. So I mean, look, we sort of touched base with that. Getting into trials, meeting Dazzle, going to Thredbo for that first year. being introduced to downhill.
You can listen to, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
podcast. There's an early podcast. If you want to hear the first bit of Marshy's story, log on to that. There's that first bit there. We're going to take over from there.
Yeah. And it's really easy to just start going on and on and on, but lots happened in all this time. So I think after Threadbow, coming back, riding mountain bikes a lot more, being involved with, I lived close or near Dazzle, real close to Kersbrook, so we went up there and, did as much track building as we did. And
what year? Tell us what year do you think?
That must have been, I'm not sure if it was even 95, maybe. I've mentioned Fox Bowl again, just memories. I can't remember who was there, who was the main person. Gary Patterson had a lot to do with it all. I just remember digging a lot with Dazzle and being really into it. And the joy of that was you'd build a berm into another corner, into another one, and then you'd ride it, and yeah, it was fun, and I really enjoyed doing that. So I think for me, as time went on, we started doing the downhill racing here, and I started getting some results. I was getting some good results. There was a particular...
What was the first... When did you first do your first downhill mountain bike race? Like you did, there's a bit of Marble Hill slalom-y stuff. That was kind of it. Yeah,
there was the slaloms that started it. I think the first downhill was at Kersbrook, though. Pretty sure that I'm positive that's my first actual downhill.
The left-hand side of the fire road.
Yeah, left-hand side of the fire road. It's totally different now. It's even hard to describe where it went, but it finished at the bottom of the hill. There was, it was a cool track. I think I got a good result there. I don't even know what I came. It was that long ago. I thought about finding all my medals and trying to do a history check, but he's got the time for that.
There's a couple of the videos I've posted some results and some names in there. It's called Look Back.
Yeah. So, look, I'm pretty sure there was a year that when things changed for me, there was a year that the series, so it might have been 96, I'm guessing, and I had a real fight with Ben Whitlock that year.
Who was the gun?
Ben
Whitlock was the untouchable.
So he was on his. I'm pretty sure he was on his Diamondback then. Dual suspension, disc brake. I was on my rigid Mongoose Crocodile and beefed up with V brakes. And it was cool. First round was at Marble Hill. There was two tracks. There was a long, fast, long. It was probably like a minute and a half. There was a longer, faster track. He won on that. And then there was a steep little track. I remember at the bottom of that was lots of switchbacks. It was tight. There was a good crowd. And I got that and got the overall. And then so the race went on. I think he got the next round, and it went like this for the season until Wollonga, which was the final round. And it was pretty much down to that race who was going to win it. And unfortunately, it wasn't me. But I had a malfunction in the rock garden, and I lost my seat. So I fell off, jumped back on the bike, and there was no seat. So it was
makes it a lot more difficult.
It was quite alarming. And but what was exciting was, what made this even better was this was such a good year for me to be sort of noticed a little bit, I suppose. And there was an Australian round. It was probably the first round of the Australian series that year at Wollonga, and I reckon it was like a week or two after.
Grab it. That's fine. I saw it. Yeah.
A week or two after that race. And what was cool with that was that, obviously it was an Aussie round, but Michael Ronning and Scott Sharples were going to be there. And they had both, had really good results overseas that year.
I reckon I just saw a flyer with your name in there. I might put that over the top, but yes.
Yeah, so, and I thought I always knew what those results were, but I tried to do a quick scan to today, just briefly, just because this is a pretty good turning point in my riding.
It's Michael Ronning, like a couple of world people, world
doing
names.
all the Grundy World Cups, and Sharples, absolute legends. Whitlock, who was always a legend. So,
and your name is in the mix.
Well, I was doing this race, and Gary Patterson lent me his foes. So first time on a dual suspension bike, and it was amazing. So I'll never forget that, being able to ride this bike. And in the end, it was so rewarding. Ben won. I think Ronning got second. I got third, and Sharples got fourth. But I tell you what, I was over the moon. And
it's Australian. The national championships. The best in Australia have come to compete together in this event, in this sport, and you're in the well and truly the top.
It was like
And you're still pretty new to the sport. I was. Whitlock's ridden all his life, and I'm not sure Ronings and Sharples.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah,
what a cool
memory I'll never forget. That is for sure. And
I'm so happy you get to share that. Like,
one of the best memories of riding.
I'm stoked you can share that.
Yeah, but
you've done a cool other. You're no slouch on a trials bike as well.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah.
I know you don't feel necessarily comfortable about. I did this and I did that. Let me try and get better questions for you. When was your first national trials win?
National trials competition. 94 Thredbo.
94. How did you go the next year?
So I won that. That was at Thredbo as well.
What sort of bike are you riding?
So I think I was on the same bike then.
Which was?
A Monty.
A 20-inch Monty.
Yeah, 20-inch Monty.
20-inch Monty. So 94, you won your first one on a really new, fresh 20-inch Monty.
Yeah.
95, you won a 20-inch Monty.
Yeah.
What happened in 96, if you remember?
So this is what I was trying to remember, the years, because unfortunately there's been some injuries as well.
Some injuries
so I've had some time off. But
so maybe 96 was
I'm pretty
injury.
sure I rode the third title I won, which was 96 or 97.
Do you remember where?
That one was at Canberra, I'm pretty sure. And then for the first time, well, it wasn't the first time I'd sort of heard about it, but there was a bit of a thing going around that I was on a 20-inch trials bike, and
that was easier.
Some of the other guys were on
26.
26-inch, and they were on the mountain bike, and this is before the classes were different. So
okay, there's still one category.
So,
we all rode
the same. So
yes.
So I just thought, well, okay, I'll do it on a mountain bike. So whatever the next one I did on the mountain bike, I won that.
Do you remember what bike you're riding at that stage?
So it was just off the shelf Mongoose. It's probably a Crocodile again. Just the smallest bike I could get.
Just a rigid fork with a single gear.
Might have tried to put some Maguras on it. They are mighty HS33s. And I like to polish things lots. It looked good, but when I look back at it, it was so wrong. You had 175 cranks, really long cranks, whereas you just wouldn't have that now. Didn't
all you learned so much. I mean, the shape of the bikes have they've changed so much.
It's
so
amazing.
you're 26. So 94, 95. There's a year, a couple of years in there that maybe the actual years we're not sure of.
Yeah.
But then you went after 2 years on a 20-inch. You went to 26-inch, and you won again.
Yep.
And then the year after that, or the next time you compete in a national challenge. I mean, there's a few rounds happening nationally. Like there's not much competition, but there's a few rounds.
Yes. Yep.
Essentially, it's
there
a
was
national
one year
comp.
there was a series, and yeah, did a bit. There might have been 4 rounds, and it was a bit. Some of it was a bit of a lot of travelling for not much reward. So
I'm sorry to interrupt. Thoughts just come to my head when we went to Melbourne, and we camped in that caravan park, and you rode to Melbourne with the Times Square. What event was that? Let's digress.
Yeah, that was awesome. So I remember we went to Melbourne to do this event, but I'm pretty sure
Ollie Klein.
It wasn't Hans Ray originally going to be there and compete, and so I remember something like that. Like originally he was gonna, Bunny Rabbit Hansy was gonna be there, and I thought this is an opportunity to compete against someone. Plus, we're all going to go no matter what, anyhow. But yeah, Ollie, Klein, yourself, and me went over there.
And that was an actual competition. And it was in Melbourne, in the city. So that piece of landscape doesn't exist anymore. There was a waterfall. And
crazy. Well, the big waterfall wasn't part of any of the trials there, but there was another big water feature and stuff.
They actually had a competition in Melbourne Central.
Yeah.
Bruce Hamley.
Yeah.
I can't remember some of the other names there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Ben Hayes was there.
Well, again, digress. Sorry to interrupt when that came to my head. Let's go back to second year on a 26-inch trials competition.
So I think there was two events at Mount Beauty, and they were my two 26-inch events. So I did 2 at Thredbo, 1 at Canberra, and then there was one at Mount Beauty. And then there was another one near the bakery. The finals were at the bakery.
Ah, yes.
So my memory's fizzled. So it could be we qualified near there and did the final there. But anyway, that was pretty. I remember that was the last time I'd won, and I was getting on a mongoose and
26 inch. Do you remember some of the other guys you're riding against? Who are the other names in that?
Yeah, so there might have been
era?
5 then that did the final.
I mean, again,
but
checking memories, you don't want to say the wrong one, but
I'm not going to say
I'll see if I can help you.
Bruce Hamley would have been there.
Yes. Who else do you reckon?
Maybe you. No.
I wasn't really 20. I did.
No, yeah, you
did
did 20. Yeah.
Really. Did.
No,
Ben Benny?
Oh, of course. Yes,
Ben Benny.
Because this is when the youngsters started coming
Cleat
through.
was in there.
Yeah.
But I'd say you and Bruce were probably, the main 2 title holders.
I remember,
and over the years, different guys came through
totally.
as well.
And amazing talent came through. I remember
Derek. WA.
Yeah, that's right.
He told us about this young kid that he knew called Sam Hill. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but I remember that event, that actual Aussie Championships. It was the finals, and I think, I don't know, maybe we did 3 laps, and I did the first lap, and I was, I wasn't going very well. I dropped off some points, and it wasn't looking good for another title. And I reckon good old legend, godfather, guru, Dazzle told me to go and have a sit down in the park. I don't know if he'd ever remember it, but I remember going and sitting in the park and him coming over and just telling me you can do this and to get,
linger there for a minute.
Yeah.
Explain a little bit more. Where's this happening? Where are you?
So, Australian Championships, we're doing it at the bakery. There was a little
Mount
courtyard out the front of the bakery.
Huge crowds.
Big crowd
Everyone's
again. There. Some pretty good sections for the time. And I think I just my head wasn't there. I was just made a few silly mistakes straight away, and I was probably getting frustrated with myself.
Because I'll stop you. Most of your trials card sheets had 0 on them. Like you'd have 5 sections.
Yeah.
We'll explain how the rules work after, but you're a 0 guy. Like you get through, you're a 0 points.
Yeah.
And you're in this event and you're starting to get a few ticks.
I bloody put my foot down.
So that's a 5. 0 to 5, just like that. Oh, not straight like that.
I'm pretty sure I got a 5, but and maybe had done a couple of silly dabs. So in this first lap, I dropped more points probably than I'd had in my whole trials career, and I was rattled. And Dazzle, like I said, he just told me to go. There was a park just opposite it. Just go sit in there for a second, breathe, get head together, and then I came back, and I think I cleaned the rest of the trial, and that was enough to get it. So
And another national title.
another national title.
So that's your fourth?
that would have been the fifth and final.
Fifth and final.
Yeah.
So how many national trials competitions did you compete in?
5.
Oh. And you won every one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You could be pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
Kids, your dad did all right, They probably don't care anymore, do they?
Yeah.
No. All right. Okay. Tell us a bit about your kids. Like, what's family life like for Steve Marsh in 2024?
Yeah, I got 3 children. Taj, who is 18. Awesome young man. Sort of head together. Not super keen on anything, but just plods along and is,
Were we at 18?
He's the sort of kid that will speak to the grandma walking down the road and say g'day, but at the same time he's finding his feet in life, and I'm proud of him. I've got a daughter, Billy. She's 15 going on 22.
Oh,
and
that's tough. There's a tough few years in there.
And yes, it's been
For
good.
all you dads,
She's testing.
Yeah.
No, she's apart from the stuff that goes down, she's again beautiful girl, lovely heart, and she's got a bright future. But she's being a kid at the moment.
You could ask me about my kids, and there's some stories we could all tell. But we love them. It's hard being a dad sometimes. I think maybe it's more getting to the point that fucking hell, they can be really hard work.
Yeah.
We don't have to get in how that hard work in what form it comes, but it can be tough. Hey,
it can.
How do you deal with your 15 going on 20-year-old daughter? Something. How do you handle that? Like, do you get angry? Do you?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
It's
like
tough. I try to look. I don't want to be the.
And if we don't want to air it here,
I don't want to be the constantly nagging father as well. And I understand. I want them to be honest with me. Talk to me about whatever they're doing, and so far so good. She's
we all did dumb shit as
generally
kids.
up front, not all the time. And I'll give them examples of the dumb shit I did at that time. And but probably her biggest flaw is she's really shit at hiding things. So
Easily found out.
yeah. So
What's a dad you worry about, especially being a daughter? Your dads worry about their daughters probably more than their sons.
yeah, well, yes.
I think it's pretty natural.
Look, love it a bit, and everything's fine.
Yeah.
But and then I've got Kai, who is 11. Crikey. And he is just a nice young lad as well. He's just again not really 100% into anything. He's actually, of all things, got really into football of late. When he does get into something, he really gets into it. So he's he got his footy cards and
They into bikes, or they like bike road? I see, Dad. Do they?
So look, we've dibbled and dabbled with that stuff. And I've never been the parent to go, I want you to take off where I left off, sort of thing. I sort of did in the beginning of being a parent. I was thinking, yes, I got a boy, we're going to do this, and yes, got to go, and on. And look, all 3 of them have shown natural skills. Like, I mean, Taj did a few downhills with me last year, and hasn't really done a lot of mountain biking. He went into under 19s, which is, is a tough field these days. Half those kids are beating the elite guys. And I wouldn't say he was super quick, but he dealt with some really challenging downhills. Like there was the section up Wollonga that, 1 in 10 were getting across because it was so wet and off-cambered and slippery. And every time I saw him go across it, he just rode across it. So there was these natural skills. Billy had the same. Kai's got the same. You know, for the mount that he rides, I saw him get into a situation at Loversoil, was just on a little BMX with one gear, and then someone walked out in front of him, and he just, you know,
He could handle it.
most people would panic and deal with it, and it's just not getting around the person. There was a tree there and a post there, and he just didn't think anything of it. And I was thinking, these kids have got, you know, like they got, you know, the braking control that just it's sort of natural. So, look.
Can you relate that to you looking at your dad? Can you put yourself back in those eyes and go, I don't know, what did, you know, your dad, we don't feel we're that old.
Yeah, no.
Can you look back at examples when you did stuff with your dad?
I've got like sort of, you know, I've got those vague memories, and I'd reflected on that with the trials and seeing him and his mate John. And I think I mentioned my dad was doing motorbike trials, but he wasn't competing in it. He was just riding trials. Yep. They were like, you know, that's when you could jump on a bike and ride down the road and go play in the creek down the road, and no one would turn an eyelid, sort of thing. So I think what I really liked was impressing my dad and my mum and my sister, and that was like rewarding, and that's what I thrived from. And, you know, as time went on, that went to friends, yourself, Dazzle, you know, sometimes doing a big lunge and getting up a box and getting a reaction is the best, you know, reward of all. It's better than a medal or better than anything. They're the little things that you strive to do. Like, you know, BMX is pulling a trick.
Just extend yourself, you know, that bit more.
Yeah.
Do that next thing.
Yeah. And same downhill, you know, getting a result, winning a race. There's something about that you want more of it. And I mean, yeah.
You're downhill. So you got you did your trials, 5 from 5 times Australian national trial, undefeated in trials competition every year that you could compete because you had injuries amongst the midst.
Yep.
In 20-inch and 26-inch.
There was 1 year, and I reckon it was probably more, there was part of an Australian series, and where was I? I reckon it might have been like 2005 or something. So, and I'd probably just dealt with a fair few injuries, and I was coming back on, but again, I wanted to catch up with everything. And there was an Aussie round at Thredbo, not an Aussie title. Some new riders, you know, like the Ben Bolton, the Piers boys, Ben Benny.
Yes. Again, there's no
maybe
real
Andrew
guilty of
Dickey,
forgetting.
and there's probably other names. So
Talent,
there was this new crew of crew, and they were on, you know, trick bikes. I was like, whoa. But I came back to, I went to this event, and I just did too much. I was doing the downhill, and I was doing the four-cross, and I was doing the trials. And
that was at Stromlo? Was that the Stromlo?
No, this was Thredbo. Okay. So I remember it because it was the only time I got beaten. And
you couldn't do all 3 events?
Well, it was very hard. Poor
Marshy.
They all crossed over each other. So when the elite downhill practice was on, the four-cross...
Yeah, their practice their schedules
something was going on. But I remember having to do a downhill practice run, jumping on my four-cross bike, going down there, doing my qualifying run for four-cross, and then jumping back on my trials bike. I reckon I did a lap of the trials, and then got my downhill bike, did another practice run because I was going to miss out.
Yeah, because they had a 2-hour window. They had a limited window to do this and that.
Too much going over, and unfortunately I was crossing over the things I was doing, and I can't remember exactly which way it went, but I remember doing
The trials wasn't
doing a lap
lovely.
of the trials, then jumping on the 4-cross bike or the downhill bike, and then coming back, and then so for the 3 laps, I also had to bolt off and do something else. So,
Which one do you reckon you like the most? Or do you know which?
At the time I liked them all, but you know, I don't have a favourite. You know, 4-cross was never. I just enjoyed it.
That's a BMX background. Yeah. That's a gate start. There's a lot in that.
The jumping. I like the
gravity jumps was good.
Quite ruthless with cutting people off and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm pretty good at that. So yeah.
You think you are?
No, I wasn't good at the gates, but I could come in on a weird angle,
going elbow to elbow to someone.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So, but you know that was fun. I probably shouldn't have done that and focused on the downhill and the trials. And you know, the other thing back then as well was,
and no one else is doing all 3. They might be doing downhill and slalom.
Yeah.
I think trials riders. Bruce was a bit of an all-rounder, and there's a few
Bruce
guys who are a bit of an
downhill,
all-rounder.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it didn't work out for me that day. I reckon Benny got me. So
Benny.
Yeah.
Ben and Chris. There's so many good memories, so many good people. Hello to everyone, whoever's there, all you old crew. It's good we're doing this again, reliving these memories.
Yeah.
Where shall we take the conversation next, Mr. Marsh?
God knows.
Inside line, people, personalities. I don't know if we went through that in last live. We probably didn't.
No.
Personalities, not necessarily racing, off the track.
Yeah.
Who comes to mind?
Off the track, you know, like most of my like mates and riding, you know, people I rode with all the time. Obviously the Mogs, Luke Myers, yourself. Yeah, I mean, when I lived in Blackwood, we went to Hawthorndean, lots of dirt jumping. The Mogs
Apex Park.
Apex Park. Mogs are down the road, so it was always, oi, let's go jumping, you know, like a Tuesday or
and what was
Wednesday
Blackwood? Hang there for a minute. Where'd you live?
I lived, well, in the beginning, I moved to a place with Gary Patterson and Glenn Holloway, Homer, which was then named the Gump House for some reason. But that was, you know, that was awesome memories. I think that was the first house I moved in after living with you and Joe, and which was also fun. But this is, yeah.
And explain that piece of land, that property.
Yeah, so it was on the side of a hill, basically. It was an big old shitbox house, but perfect for 3 blokes. And it had quite a steep sort of hill next to it, which we ended up carving a track in, which was like a bobsled run almost. You know, home would get out there and spend hours on the berms, and you know, and different people came through that house and lived in there, and you had different people staying from interstate at times, and yeah, we had some ripper parties there. And funnily enough, the next door neighbour, one of the next door neighbours was Luke Myers, looking down the hill on the right, and that's how we met him, and he got into mountain biking more. And then on the other side was Joff Meta, who people in Inside Line will know. Joff,
a huge part of the community.
Yeah,
forever.
Huge. Yeah, and his wife Vanessa. They've been involved for a long time, so we're actually one of the corners actually went into his yard, but then you know, small world in the end. But yeah, we had some great parties, some super fun times.
That was a cool track. That was like, and hold there with the community. Like, what was like? How many people did you know in the mountain bike community? And in that example, like everyone kind of knew each other. And there wasn't many of us. You know, it's not that there's 100 people or anything, but there's 30, there's 50 people or whatever.
Yeah, you know, when there was a good gathering, everyone came together. And
how do you let people know that? Well, there's no internet. There's no social media. I can't send someone a text in a group chat.
No,
what was your group chat like back then?
Well, Homer was very good with his magazines, and he'd come up with a good flyer. And then, maybe we printed some off and passed them around. So it would have been something like that. So
It's funny to think of it like that.
He was, like doing curing. So he would probably pass 5 to that person and 5 to that person, and I'd pass people them through the shop, and
that was how the mountain bike community kind of learnt about stuff, because I mean there was Holmes as well a little bit, but there was print media. You'd print a flyer. There was a Salt magazine, and the inside, like the Adrenaline was the inside, and it was a printed piece of photocopied paper.
So the Adrenaline, and then like you doing your videos and Glenn doing the Salt magazine. That was that was it. I don't think anyone else is doing that really in Australia, like regularly. He spent like hours and hours and hours, putting these. They weren't just pictures and that. He'd have a storyline and so they were just
cool
awesome.
ideas.
Yeah. So it was
Glenn, you got to do it again, mate.
Hats off. It was pretty special, and very rewarding to be involved, I guess, as a rider, but to live with both you and Glenn and seeing what goes into it.
And Gary as well.
Yeah,
Gary Patterson.
Of course, Gary.
Sure. Does anyone know that name in South Australia? I don't know mountain biking,
Yeah, Gary was at Gump for a few years, and then, he couldn't handle us, I don't think. So, no, he moved on. So, but
I'd like to get Gary in here as well.
Yeah.
Gary, we're calling you up too.
You must, Gary.
They've got plenty of stories too to tell.
Mm-hmm.
All right, some more Steve Marsh stories. Would you like another beer? Would you like a top up there?
No,
You're
I'm
good?
fine, thanks.
You're good? Okay, so outside of bike riding, what do you do with yourself? Like, you stop competitive racing, or do you still race?
These days?
Yeah. What do you do?
Well, these days, I mean, family, work. I've, in the past few years, the last 5 years or so, I've met someone else, Alice. I married her. Love her to bits. We bought a house at Volatile. I do lots with her. She's my best friend. She's my partner.
It's always good to say nice things, especially if we're live.
Yes.
That's got to be hard.
It is true.
No, it's fantastic. So happy for you.
When I met her, she did a bit of mountain biking. I met her, through the clubs, I suppose, probably Geeser, I suppose. I think I met her one Geeser presentation thing at Little Bang. But, that was before anything happened. That's when I met her. But
this is for you, Alice. Okay.
This is for you,
This
Alice,
is Marshy. He's laying on for you.
But as time went on, and I got to know her more, then, she was a roadie. I thought I'll have to be a roadie for a little bit. Okay. And
you went that far.
Went that far. But we started...
Must be love.
Yeah, well, you did what you had to do, I suppose. No, I did enjoy it. And look, in the beginning, I was, dealing with, I'd been
your old relationship. You'd had another relationship before.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I was still dealing with leaving and not, moving to a different house, the kids, different life, all that sort of stuff. So it was like really refreshing when I met her after a while, and that was just something else to do in the morning when I didn't have the kids. And
now you're still riding lots?
So going on from the roadie stuff, we got into the I guess gravel stuff, but we call it more adventure. We go for an adventure on a gravel bike. That because you can
What's a gravel bike?
Tell
people that don't.
Pretty much,
explain it.
Pretty much a roadie with dirt tyres. But when we started, we both had cyclocross bikes.
What's
And
a cyclocross bike?
That's same thing, pretty much.
Tell me more. No, people might be listening and they don't see, they don't know. What's a cyclocross bike?
It's like a really light gravel bike. Yeah, that's like a roadie.
So what's a gravel bike? What's a light gravel bike?
So it's pretty much a roadie with dirt tyres.
But it's got drop hand.
Yeah.
It's got straight bars.
Roadie bars.
Drop bars.
Yeah, roadie bars. But we started doing a few like dirt missions and what they call flash packing. So we'd Alice would always come up with a route, like let's go here, here and here, and we'll go to Tanunda. On the way there, we'll stop at a winery, we'll have a wine, then we'll go.
Oh, great.
Go to a motel, have a shower, go to a pub, have a few beers, something to eat, and then ride back a different way. And then that sort of...
The next day, that's like a Saturday night or something.
We do it
like
over a weekend.
Okay, yep.
So we grew a bit of a love for that, and then...
that sounds cool. How long is a lap like that?
Well, I mean, to Tanunda, it must be close to 100 Ks or something like that.
One way?
Yeah.
You ride your bike, you leave at, 8 o'clock in the morning or what?
I mean...
How long does it take to ride 100 Ks? How long does it take to ride that far?
It can vary quite a bit depending on terrain and stuff, but
Give an example. You've ridden from have you done it in the new place or your last place?
Yeah,
or give me a specific example.
Yeah, I mean some days are long.
So you've left home at you could wake up early.
Well, we'll just
6 o'clock.
wake up, leave at 8, and we might get there at the end of the day like 5 or 6 o'clock, 4, depending.
So you've ridden all day.
Yeah, I mean we've stopped
for lunch or
eaten but I mean that can vary a lot.
You're not really carrying too
100
much.
Ks pretty quick, depending on the terrain as well.
I can't.
Yeah,
I'm not fucking doing that.
But yeah, look, I would never have thought I'd get into anything like this, but we sort of found a love for it. And when I met her, one of our things we were going to go to Europe and go there for a little bit. She always went every other year, sort of thing. You keep going. We were just going to go on a holiday, but then COVID happened. Wasn't happening. And then we decided when we could travel again that we'll do it, but we'll take bikes this time and we'll bike pack it. So I wanted to get some different bikes. I wanted to get something that, had bigger wheels on it, a bit more mountain bikey. Come across the Curve brand, which legend Jesse Carlson.
Legend.
I mean, there's lots of other legends involved with that, but that's the name that people will know. Is involved with. And we got these frames, built these bikes up. They weren't drop bar, they were a flat bar, could carry heaps and heaps of stuff. And so you're carrying
stuff. So what, you're carrying your sleeping gear, your everything. You've flown to another country with everything and a bike.
Tent, sleeping bags. We probably took way too much stuff, or we definitely took way too much stuff. And
it's got to be hard to calculate how much you can carry for a time.
Yeah. I mean, these bikes can handle it and they feel comfy riding, but we took lots. What was pretty funny there, though, was Alice likes testing herself, and before we went on that trip that we'd been waiting years to do, she was going down to Kangarilla one day riding with some friends, and it happened to be raining that day, and I said, you watch out, there, because it's hard pack sort of slippery stuff. Oh, no, I'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she rings me up a bit later that day, and she goes, oh, you're going to love this. I'm like, what? And she goes, oh, I've broken my ankle. So, 6 weeks before we were going to go on this European trip, that happens. And then, long story short, she got told, look, it's going to be fine. It's only a hairline fracture. We'll put it in a car or moon boot, whatever. It'll be fine before we go. So I reckon the day before we went, she went to get it all off and x-rayed and checked, and it hadn't changed. It needs to get operated on. So she did this whole European bikepacking trip with a broken ankle, and she could ride okay with the moon boot off, but she'd have to wear the moon boot walking and stuff. And she was like, nah, I won't take it. And I said, so you're taking your moon boot, and so on top of all the bike stuff, I was carrying this moon boot as well. So it was pretty funny, but she did it.
Wow, well done for you, Alice. You sound like
Legend.
yes. No, tough bugger. You know, have someone that by your side. I really am stoked for you guys. Like honestly, I'm super stoked for you guys, and to have that sort of fun, like the whole bikepacking thing. I mean, we can talk about anything. It sounds like so much fun. Explain to someone a bit more. You travel to Europe bikepacking, so you get in a plane, you pack your bike in a box, and you have a backpack, and you go to Europe and you travel. But here in Adelaide, South Australia, or people are interstate, you leave from your house, and what, you just go for a big loop with a backpack, or what do you travel with?
Like 3 weeks ago, on a, I think I was working that Saturday morning. I said to Alice, I reckon when I get home, we'll load the bikes up and we'll ride to Murray Bridge or to Mannum, and we'll just stay there the night and then ride back a different way the next day. So that was pretty much it. Like I think I said that on the Friday. So Friday night we just packed the bags. Got a front handlebar bag that fits like tent, sleeping bag, poles.
Oh, and you don't even stay in a hotel. You just camp up wherever you find a spot somewhere.
Yeah, got this bag like that comes off the seat post bag that can fit some clothes, whatever else in. There's a couple of bags near the head stem feed bags, just you graze from while you're riding. Water. And off we go.
All you lazy people sitting at home watching Netflix, you could be seeing the world for next to no cost. I mean, sure, the equipment costs you a bit to set that stuff up.
I mean, we've done a couple of things just of late, just a couple of quick, like over a couple of days when we went up to the Rawnsley station at the Flinders.
Oh, it's beautiful there.
Rode to Blimman on the
You
Mawson.
rode from Adelaide to Blimman?
No,
Adelaide
so
to
we
Rawnsley
drove
Bluff.
to Rawnsley, and then rode from there to Blimman and then to Parachilna.
Because they got a big South Australian event that does all Flinders stuff. There's a lot of people. There's a few organised bigger events.
Yeah, there is. Lots of people come to do the Mawson. It's a thing. Like we met a guy from New Zealand on it. He's flown here to do the Mawson. So, Look, it's
that's a big part of your life. Still riding, like you started. How old?
As soon as I could ride.
What age?
Like, I mean,
6, 7,
no,
less.
I was riding
4.
way before then.
And you haven't stopped. And now again, you're 39 too as well. How old are you now?
Yeah, I'm older than that.
So 40 years, 50 years, ish.
Yeah, more than that.
And you still ride daily.
Yeah. Yep, I try to. Now I live at Lobethal. I drive down the hill, drop kids off at school, but I park on the foothills and then ride to work just so I'm not in the traffic. So,
what's your attraction to riding all the time? No matter what it is. What do you think you like about it?
It's just, it takes your mind off things, other, stresses in life, or it's just, it's nice. It's meditation as well. And also, like going back to this bike packing, venture riding, you see so much more. Like, I mean, apart from we've done a couple of trips to Japan as well in the last couple of years, mainly because you can get at the time you can get a ticket to Japan as cheap as getting a ticket to WA. So, and then it's cheaper there, and you're in another country, and it's what an adventure. So, but yeah, just you could go there and get on the trains and go to Mount Fuji and go to Hakuba and go wherever. But there's nothing like riding through that little village and
at a pace where you can see it,
rice field, and
you're not in a car zooming past.
The smells, the sounds. I've done a bit of travelling, growing up a lot, and with my parents, and Dad would take us on a bush trip every year, and which is unbelievable. And I've done a couple of motorbike trips with him as well, and all awesome. But even though you're not going as far, definitely not covering as much ground, and maybe at the end of the day not seeing as much. What you do see is way more important, and you take it in so much more. Like I said, those smells and those little things.
All your
that
senses are firing.
You don't see if you're in a train going,
Yep.
or in a bus or in a plane or whatnot. And you have hard days. You get a sore ass. You deal with
mechanicals
that as well.
and breeder. You need to know. Yeah.
You get a rainy day. You get
But cost effective. It's and it just sounds the blessings you get from travelling at a slower pace.
Yeah,
and just, you don't get as far, but you're in the little village. You stop and see the people doing their thing.
So when we went to Europe, that was pretty much planned. This day we've got to be here, and we've got to be here this time. We've got to go there, and that's mainly because we wanted to go watch, the Adelaide boys at a World Cup at Lenzerheide. So that was the thing. We got to Italy. We rode up into the mountains in Switzerland and went to Lenzerheide. Then we had to get back down the hill, get into France. We caught some trains because we wanted to go to the Queen stage of the Tour de France on Alpe d'Huez. So had to get there. So there was,
couple of target dates.
Yeah, there was lots of dates. So we need to catch this train on this day. We need to be in, Florence or Bologna here on this
Sounds
time.
awful.
And
sounds terrible.
it was so bad. It was amazing. But these when we went to Japan, it sort of started like that, and then we were like, Alice is very good at making a route and going, right, we're going to go from here to here, we're going to do 100 Ks, but there's all these variables of different weight and hills and heat. We went from winter to summer, and so
but that's a typical day. 100 Ks is a typical day?
Yeah,
or
like 70 to 130, something like that.
Yeah, I drive that every second week.
So yeah, I pretty much said, look, I want to be on a holiday. I don't want to be riding into the darkness and stuff. I want to stop at like 4 o'clock or something, or 5 o'clock. I want to have a beer. I want to have a shower. I want to, relax. I want to enjoy this as well. And so did she. But after that, we didn't have set plans. We just did what we did. There's so many places in Japan you can go. There's at like 4 o'clock. You can look it up or find a camp spot or whatever. So, but after that, that 2-week holiday in Japan was really stress-free, and it seemed longer than the month, we'd been on other trips because it wasn't so planned. So,
not to be rude, what does that roughly cost? Like, how much does it cost? Like, you've got some flights to get to Japan. Yeah. You've got all your kit. You've got all your own stuff.
So the expensive stuff's the bike and the bits.
Which,
pieces.
assuming.
Yeah.
I'm going to fucking. This sounds bloody mate. I mean, it sounds great to me. Like I wouldn't. I don't know if my legs would do it. I don't think there'd be a bit of training in.
Yeah.
But
so the flights are the main thing. That's the way we've taken stuff like this.
Yep.
Get the flights and we deal with it when we get there, sort of thing.
And then you travel in that island.
Yeah.
But you're sleeping in hotels most nights, or you're sleeping in your own.
Yeah. So the first year we went, we planned on a lot of camping, but a lot of the camping over there in summer, spring's been, everything's like bloody jungle over there. So a lot of the campsites weren't campable, and that's a word.
Suitable.
But, and also there was, signs that you can't always understand. Thank God for Google Translate. You can use that quite a lot. Yeah. But, you see little signs of bears, like bear signs and pictures. That's always nice. And just in different places. But that particular year, it was really hot. It was summer, and it's really hot over there and humid. And some of the camping spots that we went to over there, that you don't see camper vans and caravans everywhere. When people go camping, they set up these extravagant tents, and they go there for camp, like coal cooking and a family experience sort of thing. And they've
paid top dollar for it.
They pay good money for their bit of grass that they're on. So some of the times you could get accommodation cheaper than you could a campground. So, and then you'd have a shower and all that, aircon and yeah. And Japan's awesome, you know, like you could leave your phone and wallet on your seat of your bike and walk into a
A lot of people
supermarket.
say that. Super safe.
Yeah, come out and it would be
good
there.
character.
Yeah,
Yes.
so, no, look,
Okay.
yeah, no, that's that side of life. I mean, it's been good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, nice.
it's been, you know,
It sounds like some cool experiences.
it's amazing experiences.
Some cool
yeah,
experiences.
yeah.
Japan to
Look,
Australia.
it's a lot cheaper. Like if we went there and we'd planned a bloody.
Well,
trip,
we're thinking about going to Europe next year. It's
Yeah.
fucking the dollars are nuts.
Oh, yeah,
How
it's
much you
crazy.
spend accommodation per
Yeah.
night, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah,
Taking
exactly.
3 kids to Europe. Bloody
So
hell.
yeah, if you know you
good
pick
luck.
right with the eating and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, you can
Eat
do it
grass
quite
off the
cheap.
side of the road. Yeah. But
Yeah.
Japan to Australia, tell us about some of your favourite friends, bike riding buddies here in Adelaide. Like, who springs to mind when you talk about good times in Adelaide, hanging out back in your youth of your before we had girlfriends and wives and kids?
Yes.
Who were
yeah.
those people?
Well, Dean and Rowan spent lots of time with those guys. You know, on bikes and socially. Luke Myers did lots with him as well. Obviously Dazzle. I think definitely when I moved to Blackwood, to the Gump House and that, Homer, I mean, gosh, there's going to be names that I've spent lots of time with.
Yeah.
But we would set up regular dirt jump nights. So there'd always be a city dirt jump night. There'd always be Hawthorne Dean night.
That's where you've spoken to. Again, there's no Instagram. We haven't texted each other and said, we've been texting that. You just say we're meeting at Apex Park.
Be
Tuesday night.
Friday night thing now. It's Wednesday night.
Yeah, you just come there.
Yeah.
Don't have to call or message anyone. Yeah. That's on. Tuesday night's there.
Yeah.
Friday night it's there.
And then other nights it was just go for a ride, go for an adventure, and Belair was right there. Even just going
And
for
so who were some of those
going
people?
for a street ride.
Who really sticks out in your mind in the memory of right? It's a Tuesday night. It's a Friday night. Whatever it is. Wow. What comes to mind? Who comes to mind?
Well, what comes to mind is probably the Mogs and yourself.
Doing what?
Maybe Miles.
What are we doing?
Dirt jumping trials.
Where?
Wherever, we'd get the old Nokias out and ring each other and go, all right, let's meet here. And I mean, some of the spots like trials riding. I mean, city missions and the old festival theatre. That was fun back in the old days when there was lots of good obstacles there. Just playing in different creeks and stuff like that, and dirt jumping, street. Yeah,
all that stuff. What about as we got bit older and a bit more of the free riding thing was kind of, there was a group doing a free riding thing.
Yeah. So
what was a bit of that like?
Well, that's
And when was that?
God knows, but that's. I mean, obviously we'd met. I mean, we knew Grant, but Grant was a lot more involved. There was a period there where, and this is where I wish I could remember some names. I know, I'm good. Like there was Matt Holmes, but there was a couple of other important names, and they came to me. Well, they spoke to me about making a all-terrain mountain bike challenge, and they had this idea of trials and obstacles as well as downhill and jumps and pick your own line sort of rampage style as well, and
combination of trials and downhill racing,
judged and points and everything like that. So that happened, and
that was trying to elevate the sport from it was downhill mountain bike racing. We had slalom, you had trials, you had cross country. Maybe that was it, and then we're talking early 2000s or something. So what else can we do with mountain biking to make it more appealing to the crowds?
There was a real, trying to get a mix of riders, even the BMXer that got a mountain bike and could do some tricks and stuff like that. So put this event together. I mean, I didn't have heaps involved with it. I just suggested some ideas. And then, you know, lucky me, I hurt myself before that round happened, as usual. But, yeah, I got asked, who have you got some riders in Adelaide? If you could pick, you know, 4 or 5 riders in Adelaide, who would you pick? So obviously I picked the Mogs. I rode with lots.
Mad bastards.
Yeah.
With quite a bit of skill.
So there's this fella, Grant Allen. He's not too bad either. You should probably get him on the go.
Yeah.
He's doing some pretty wild stuff. I reckon Luke Radnor came as well.
Yes. The little youngster.
Little Luke Radnor.
He's still young.
Yeah. And yeah. So I think I went there and I judged sadly and poorly.
Yeah.
And
I could have been doing that.
yeah. And then then the next year it happened again, but Red Bull got wind of it, and I don't know how it all happened, but yeah, the people that put that event on got Red Bull behind it, and
What was that called?
it was called the Red Bull Ride.
The Red Bull Ride in Canberra.
No, it was still Jindabyne.
Jindabyne, okay.
Yeah, all
Jindabyne.
there was 3.
Yeah, okay, yep, Jindabyne.
It was all terrain challenge and then 2 Red Bull rides.
Yes.
So
And what, the second one you got to compete in?
no, I was getting over an injury then,
Okay.
so but I was just coming back on. But I did get a few lifetime photos from Matt Holmes. So there was one night we were all mucking around in the little township. They had a little mini ramp in there, and
yes.
I got a fat snap. I think it was an Australian mountain bike. The middle page pull out, and it was a awesome shot of just a flat panny out of the quarter pipe, but there was also fires in the hills in the background, so all the sky was orange and it was sort of silhouette sort of picture, and it was absolute 10 out,
unique.
10,
There was
10 out,
huge
10 out of
fires
10
that year.
photo, and there was a few other photos and things that happened that week.
But you did compete. You competed in one of them, didn't you?
Yeah, the last one.
Okay.
So yeah,
This was Red Bull Hardline hadn't happened. Red Bull Rampage, maybe not even yet.
Yeah, I don't even know. Maybe that last one was
Because this
the
is
first
what year? What
Yeah.
year are we thinking? I'd have to check.
Yeah.
2002-ish?
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe?
Yeah,
We'll work it. Not the end of the world. But
No, I've got not a good memory with dates.
yeah.
But
The third one,
fortunately, I
you got
wasn't
to
injured.
ride.
I
Okay.
got to ride that one. So we practiced. We walked this track. It was like right up my alley.
What are some of the features?
So there was a massive quarter pipe that was just a staggered wooden quarter pipe. That was no one's going to air out of it,
Clunky,
but we'll just see what it can do. And then there was quite a sort of a straight that went into a rock pile. Again, you could pick what line you wanted, so you get judged on
The bigger drop or the rougher thing?
There was another rock section you went into, and then you had to there was a bit of balancing beam that was about a bike length width, and so you rode onto that, hit the brakes, and then that went probably about 2 or 3 meters. So you stationary. This thing's sliding across like a
teeter-totter seesaw.
yeah, and then it
all
went
in
onto
one.
a teeter-totter. Yeah, dropped off of that, and then you took a right, and then you headed down towards
No mountain
all of these
biker in
drops.
Britain was not. Mountain bikers weren't riding stuff like that.
No. So then it went down into this section. All you could see was all these different lips and the Lake of Jindabyne. So there was 2 lower but really far back, sort of still high drop gaps. And then there was another one that was a bit higher, and then there was a really high one, which Grant's got a classic photo from. And when
That
we
was a
first,
scaffold ramp. The
it was
tallest
all-
one was scaffolds.
I think the other lips were still
Natural.
scaffold. So
Yeah. Yep.
but they sort of went out, but you dropped down. And, walking that the first day, I was thinking no one's going to do those gap jumps, we'll do these. It'll be the high one and this other one.
Because in the world, I'll pause there. We're talking about the biggest gap jumps in a year we'll work out, and this is the biggest gaps and jumps. There's a few of the New World Disorder videos. People were doing some big stuff.
Yeah.
And this was in line with the biggest jumps and gaps anyone on a mountain bike had done yet.
Yeah.
And this is this one event.
And this event had really stepped up from the previous ones. So I guess word had got around in the world about this event. And so we had, at the time, a lot of the Canadian rock stars were over here. Say some of their names.
No. Yeah, we're terrible with the names. Yes.
Anyway, Steve Pete was here. Cedric Gracia was here.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some, like, you know, it was an invite-only event. So I was...
Well, you had your Rennies. I think you had...
Yeah, Sam Hill.
Sam Hill in there.
Sam Hill won it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Downhiller. Yeah. Punk. But you had...
Yeah. So I remember these massive gaps, thinking no one's going to do it. They're going to do that. But directly after that, you had to land, go up into a shipping container, jump up onto that, and you dropped off of that into a 6-pack. Boom. There was some trials, balancing beamy stuff, big drop, rocky stuff down the bottom, some awkward man-made scaffed sort of drop in, and you had to sort of do a little gap over this thing. It was, you know, when you look at the footage of it, it was nothing. But when you did it, it's a bit tricky because we're on Julies and it was just...
Didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work. But look, it was
It was the most unique, extreme extension of mountain biking trying to wrap skills and downhill and gravity and jumps. It was bringing everything together.
Yeah.
And how did you go in that event?
I did good in the end. I got 4th. So yeah.
And do you remember some of those names that you can put? Oh, that's a pretty proud moment.
Yeah,
Mr. Marsh.
Yeah. So I mean, Sam Hill won it. I think Rennie got 3rd. I can't remember.
I think Gracia. I think we got some footage there because the boys were doing some filming and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And
I can't exactly remember who got it.
okay.
I remember being...
But you're top 5 in the world in the most
yeah.
craziest new form of mountain biking with skills of balance and jumps and drops and technical and rocks and this and that. No one's doing backflips, soft jumps. No one's doing 360s. It's not fucking Rampage.
Yeah.
It's not anything like that. And this is 25 years ago.
The points were... I remember I keep saying I remember.
Yeah,
but the points were quite close. So... that night at the after party or presentation dinner thing,
when Grant had 15 Red Bulls and couldn't sleep for 3 days.
One of the judges was ex-champion BMXer and 4-cross downhiller, the Tali Muxlow. She was she judged it, and she came up to me and said, "Oh, Marsh, you didn't do anything in my section. I would have given you more points." And I was like, what? So I missed this. I had a dilemma with a bike, and I had to go to Canberra to pick up some bits and pieces, and I missed a walk. I think they did a walk and they explained where exactly you'd get points and that. It all seemed pretty obvious to me.
And that would have made a difference.
Yeah, it all seemed pretty obvious to me where I would have got points on all these features, but right at the top where there's that quarter pipe and then this long straight into this other rock bit, that long straight.
There was something in there.
All you had to do was manual down there or something, and I would have got more points.
Just wave to the camera.
I wouldn't have won, but I would have got a better result. So it was like
nah, it's got to be. Yeah. Look, man, you had so many skills, and I think so many people recognise that. You know, I'm glad that I can maybe share some of them now today.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a downhill race at the Inside Line mountain bike clubs at Eagle Hill, and you go, that's Marshy. It's like, well, who's Marshy? Like, well, back in the day.
Yeah. And I've had some like rippers in the last few years. I mean, you know, just going back and competing. So
yeah. So you
I'll
still
tell you about one of them, but I really need to go for a
wee. All right, let's do a wee break. Let's pause.
Yeah.
Let's come back for a wee break. Brilliant. We can do that.
Yep.
All right, we are back from a well-deserved wee break. Back with Mr. Marsh, and I said, "What do we talk about next?" And there's a couple of things, but injuries. You have had a couple of crazy injuries and surgeries. Hold there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a big part of my life, the injuries. And, yeah, it's, not good, I suppose. I mean, I did my knee in at the Load festival, which was a real pain because that's when things was starting to really progress with the downhilling.
And that was probably 96, 97, somewhere in there.
So it was, it was, not far after that Wollonga race. Things are booming. I mean, there was all these cool new other videos as well with, people doing rhythm sections and backflips and that. And we built a couple of BMXs. We thought we'd build this big sandy jump down there and we'll be heroes. But yeah, got a little bit carried away and, just not warmed up or anything. Did a jump on a BMX that I hadn't really ridden and landed in sand awkwardly and boom, legs goes. And then...
and sadly, I have footage of that. Like
you do have footage.
It's a horrible moment. Like, just such a sickening moment.
Yeah, it wasn't just my ACL. It pretty much most things through it. But what was really frustrating with that was the trying to diagnose it. They were doing the old what they would do for a ligament test, and I wasn't reacting like it would. So they were like, "It can't be that. Just let it rest for 6 weeks, ice it, blah blah blah," and it just wasn't getting better. And then back then, there wasn't MRIs and things like that you could go do. So you had to wait to get into a specialist, make another appointment for arthroscopy, then have an arthroscopy. Then they tell you that, yes, you just fucked your knee. We need a knee reconstruction. Wait for that surgery date. And, by then my leg had faded away pretty much.
While you're winning it, you're starting to win some events.
Yeah,
you're just I'm up here with some big names, and you've got this huge injury. How does you? It's got to rock you emotionally.
It did. There's definitely a lot of quiet moments, and especially once I found out what had happened and what the recovery was going to be. I was devastated. It's really,
How old are you? How old are you?
A few long nights, early 20s. Yeah. Early
Prime of your
20s,
life.
Yeah, 20.
Winning stuff.
Yeah,
on the way up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess what's most frustrating with that is that I kept having recurring injuries, and none of it was ever racing or competing. It was always piss farting around or doing a demo. It must have been
There's a Black Flies demo.
Dates, dates are no good, but there was another, Black Flies demo. Just did a little, jump off a roof over to a box.
And you just say, oh, just a little jump off a roof. But you're riding your bike, you're jumping your bike off a roof. You had more than well and truly the skills to do it. You make it sound like it was easy, like it's just jumping off a gutter. But no, you're jumping off a roof.
Yeah. And, just step back off. I believe the box, when I landed on it, moved a little bit. Maybe I sort of didn't correctly land. Anyway, I stepped backwards, did the same knee again. I knew straight away what I'd done, though. The first time pain was excruciating. It was like something I'd never felt before. And I think that's because I'd done quite a bit more than just the ACL. But this time I just, that nice warm ligament feeling. Yeah, so go through it all again. Another recon, another year of recovery. Yeah, horrible. And it just kept going on for me. I started gaining momentum again. I went to a downhill and again, it wasn't racing, it was in practice, but there was at Mount Buller, there's anyone that's raced at there was this bus stop section, and then it crossed this fire road, and you went down the chute. And as I was dropping down the chute, this girl pulled out in front of me. So I could have cleaned her up, but instead I decided to try to dive on the brakes and get out the road, and I started to go over the bars, put my hand out, and I did something to my wrist. So I thought I'd broke my wrist or something. So I went down to Mansfield, went to the hospital. They said, yeah, there's a fracture. Cast for 6 weeks. 6 weeks later, it comes off. Feels exactly the same. So, again, there wasn't all the tests you could do then. They ended up doing some dye test eventually through some other specialist. And I'd torn the ligament off my scaphoid. So, another big surgery, another really long recovery.
6 weeks in, they hadn't recognised that injury?
No, because they put a cast on my arm at Mansfield, and I thought, yeah, it's going to be 6 weeks, handline fracture, I'll be back on, and it absolutely gutted again.
Because you couldn't move, you couldn't, now I realise
yeah, when it came off, I was just like, felt it straight away, it feels no different. So, yeah, yeah, I didn't know what to do. I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep dealing with this stuff.
What are you doing with your time on those days that you can't be riding your bike? What fills your days?
Yeah,
are you still working?
I guess trying to get back to work. I remember,
because you're working. This is probably track cycles work days.
Yeah, I would have been working there. I would have.
You could still work, but
I'd focus a lot on, mates riding, even though it was horrible. I'd focus a lot on,
this
maybe
is Gump House, a couple of Gump House injuries, and
Gump House. I mean, the first one was when I was with you guys. Yes. But I'd focus a lot on, maybe selling a bike and building up another one, and doing stupid things like polishing things you wouldn't normally polish because
you got time, and that's as much as you can do.
Looking forward to riding that bike, looking forward to, that stuff. So still sometimes trying to go away with friends racing just to feel a part of it. It was really hard. Happened again. I think a few years later, I reckon Taj, or actually...
Before then, you got to go overseas.
No, yeah, I did get to go overseas. So before Taj... I was doing we call it Wally World, but it was Wonderland in Sydney. I was doing some trial shows there with, I think Ben Bolton and some BMXers, and they called it the World of Freestyle BMX, but it was over the school holiday, so 2 weeks. They put us up. It was really good money for each show. And during that time, Mongoose had said to me, look, you've got an opportunity to go race 2 Norbers, which are the really big events to do then. So it worked out. I could go and race this downhill at Spokane in Colorado, and then I could go to Whistler for a few weeks, which was really going to be cool because a heap of my mates were going to be there that year. Moggs, or I don't think Rowan was going, but Dean was going to be there, and there's going to be a bunch of Adelaide guys there. And then I was going to do another one in California. So it was sort of planned out. It was really rushed. I really wasn't super prepared. I was still getting over a knee injury. But I had this opportunity. I mean, it was a mega story.
The chance to ride overseas and compete against the best in the world, knowing you've got legs.
So I rocked up to the Mongoose team. At the time, Eric Carter, absolute gun legend, hero, was there. There was another guy I didn't really know of, but really good 4-cross rider. And they had their mechanics and their team and stuff like that. And it wasn't a warm welcome at all. Okay. I really felt I was like another
competitor,
another Aussie rocking up, because
they just started to win.
the Aussies were rolling. You had Kvarek, Rennie,
Yep.
Hannah. Who
The
else?
world did start to see the Aussies poking their heads up.
Yeah. There was Aussies were rolling. So there was another Aussie coming along. And I did get to do a couple of practice runs I followed Eric Carter, and I was hovering around him, thinking is he
I'm on his
going
back wheel.
quick?
Yep.
So when we came to qualifying, I was way back, and I think they were setting us off in like 20-second gaps or something like that. And these Norbers were massive downhills. They were like 7-minute downhills or something. Anyway, I'd caught first person that left before me, got around him, and now halfway down the hill, I was coming up to another person.
So you've made up 40 seconds.
So, roughly. I suppose maybe that person had crashed for all I know. I don't know. But I was catching the next person I caught. I'd come down into a chute, and then on the main line, he was on it, and I went to go around him, hit a heap of rocks, went over the bars. But one of my left hand landed on top of a rock. This one landed on the ground and basically popped my elbow out. So I'd done a really good dislocation of my elbow, which that was it for that trip.
And that was it. That was your chance on the world stage.
Yeah.
And for everyone, I'm calling it, you've picked up 2 riders ahead of you. So I'm sure that's a horrible experience to
it was,
not be able to redeem yourself, not be able to show what you can do.
Yeah, it wasn't nice. It was very traumatic from that point till I got home. So I didn't like America at all.
They didn't support you. They
didn't have a very nice, very nice time. I pretty much had to organise my flight back to LA and then back home. Mongoose were out celebrating that night, I reckon. So I was trying to pack bike.
With the busted arm.
The ordeal of getting off the hill and to the hospital and then pulling my arm back in, and I couldn't get painkillers. It was a long time. And then even when I got to the airport, when I was in LA, I was completely drained.
Was this within the same day or two? Or?
Yeah, so that day, hospital, that night, packed bike, left.
Whether you got a cast in your arm?
The Mongoose cart driver, truck guy, he was really cool. He drove me to this Spokane to catch a plane.
Yeah.
He was really cool. But when I got to LA, I was like drained. My arm was throbbing.
You got to carry your bike in a box and all this shit?
Yeah, all my shit was in this box. And I had my bag, that's right. And no wheels on bags then. Really heavy downhill bike, probably heavier than your e-bike.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get no one would help me get this thing off the conveyor belt. It was just, it went on.
Not to slander words against another country, but you probably could.
Yes, yeah.
In that example.
The best thing, there was a lot more that kept going on, and I won't pull the violin out.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, when I got back to Australia, I stood in this line. I went to get this bike off the belts again, and some bloke come up. "What are you doing, mate? Here, let me help you." Grabbed me a trolley, grabbed the bike, put it on there for me, and then I'm standing in the line going for customs, and then other lady came over and said, "No, you come this way." Blah blah blah.
Restored a bit of your faith in humanity.
I had some tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
So good to get home. And then I guess it was, in between that as well, I had another major knee surgery.
You had a knee surgery that was groundbreaking in the time. Was it your first or your 15th? I'm not sure which one. The osteoconjugal grafting was that? That was new technology.
Yeah, so they don't do it here anymore. I don't even know if they do it anywhere.
An experiment.
I think they only do it in France and Canada now. But
what was that? What did you do?
They basically took samples from my leg and made a cartilage milkshake in Switzerland, and then brought it back here. They really did a big open knee surgery, stitched another sort of bit of a bladder in and injected this thing. And, I mean, touch wood.
They regrew you and you something.
Well, apparently it regrew my cartilage in that area, or helped with that, I believe. I could be wrong.
And this was 25 years ago, where we're talking 98-ish. Yeah?
You got to remember, after my first operation, I got told, you'll never ride again. And I was like,
you showed them, Marshy.
I was like, well, I said, you might as well tell me I won't eat again too. So
you fucking showed them.
Yeah. And then, look, I pretty much stopped. Well, the year that we had Taj, I think I backed off with riding then. There was a few things. There's this young kid, Troy Brosnan, that I come across riding.
Yeah. No, I think
I sort of got him involved quite a bit in the early days with Mongoose and that. And Mongoose was limited with riding. He was really coming on strong. I was time poor. My head wasn't there anymore. So I was like...
And this kid looks all right on a bike.
Yeah.
You identified him where?
Doing bike edits for schools.
So what's bike ed at schools?
Just,
what were you doing?
Bike education, riding, safety rules.
What is that?
Yeah, teaching kids to ride on roads, being
in
aware
a school
of the bikes.
environment. You came with bicyclists. They had a program.
Yeah,
where
it
they'd
wasn't
go
through
out.
Bike SA. Then it was through another little
privateer. But people trying to bring bicycling into school environment.
Went there. It's much like what they do now.
This is 25 years ago.
Teach. Road safety awareness. Making sure their bikes, making them a little bit aware of it.
And you could also do a wheelie and a bunny hop on the front wheel.
Yeah, well,
and
we weren't allowed to do anything, but we mucked around every now and then. And then when I'd take my kids, that would get broken up into different groups, I'd take them and do some fun little tracks through the school and that. And I remember seeing, I'd see hundreds of kids riding all the time, and so when someone had skills on a bike, they really stood out. So. Yeah, and after several lessons like that, and the getting quite fond of Troy and his riding and stuff, I'd sort of obviously talked about downhill, and I'd done a few trialsy things. I think I ended up doing a demo at that school, but I was explaining about downhill and asked him if he was interested in it, and he said, "Yeah, I'm really keen." And I said, "Well, you get your parents to ring me," and yeah, so I think he came out. I think the first race he came out sort of helped him with. Maybe it was at Bennett's. And he did a few other races and got more involved and kept getting quicker and quicker.
The late 90s, like 99, 2000-ish.
So,
probably.
I reckon a bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to say... Well, Taj 2006, so I'm going to say like 2004, 2003,
okay.
something like that.
Yep.
But
irrelevant. But
he was getting quicker.
He was this little young
kid,
little whippersnapper.
Yeah. And I was trying to get him on board with Mongoose, and they were like, "No, we're not going to have some young kid." And I remember another Threadbow mission. One of the team guys who also raced, like one of the managers, I said, do a run with Troy. And I think he was thinking, oh, God, with this little dude. And anyway, he did a run with him, and he goes, I know why you sent him down with me. And said, yeah, I think Troy left him for dead. And yeah.
And so the rest is history.
They made a spot for him. So, yeah. Wow! Look now.
There's a story. I mean, this story is about you. I'd love to get Troy and his family in
awesome
here too.
To get them on. But look, I've played a little part in his, and it's always rewarding seeing results.
The next person comes through.
Yeah, it's always I don't stay in touch with him as life's gone on. But I'm
so proud to go. You're a part of that. You are a part of that. Yeah. And I'm sure he and the family, they all
results
know.
and, you know, all that sort of stuff is, you know, really, you know, you feel that emotional part of it when he gets a good result. So it's awesome.
Sure. Hey, switching from that, Bicycling Australia show, Phil Latz, Bicycling Australia trials shows. Let's flip the switch. You, every year, I don't know if they still do it, the Australian bicycle industry would have a trade show.
I don't think
Phil Latz, Bicycling Australia. It would be in Sydney and Melbourne, alternate years. They'd hire a huge hall.
Yeah.
Melbourne Entertainment Centre, Sydney at the race grounds, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they'd have 100 stalls selling their bike stuff and bikes and forks and helmets and everything. Yeah. And then on it, they'd have a public day and they'd do bike demonstrations, and there was no room. The only thing they had room for was a bike trials demonstration, and you were a big part of that.
Yeah.
Tell us about, do you remember your first one?
It was like really exciting. You know, there was, like you say, it was the show. All the wholesalers had their stands. It's a bit of a shame it's not done anymore. It was a great opportunity for people to, you know, apart from the big companies, the smaller little bespoke companies, you know.
You get a 3x3 tent and show what you've got.
Yeah, that's it. And then on top of it, we did some shows, and a couple of those shows were, I mean, they were all always crowd pleasing. I think a couple of the early ones have got my fondest memories. There was one in Melbourne. So I think it might have been the first one that I did, and
you're riding for Mongoose? You're a Mongoose rider?
It was always Mongoose. Yep. Mongoose, I mean, they supported me for years. Like, I must have been riding for them for 10 years or something, through thick and thin. They stuck by me and I stuck by them. So, it was, they were awesome. But, I remember this show, it was really good, and then it went on, and Phil Latz would organise.
What is the show like? What were you doing? Like, explain.
I mean, we just have a, 5-minute show that have
barricade off an area. What were you doing on your bike?
Yeah.
The first one was just a stage, wasn't it? You had models walking alongside.
That was just a part. They had modelling show where they'd come out wearing different lycra stuff. Can you come out in this part and do a little wheelie or something? So that was that bit. The other stuff was just, it was just a show, and you try to, start small and build it up, and, like any good show, leave the best sort of things to the end.
And what obstacles, you were demonstrating bike trials?
Yeah.
So a really small area. You've got
we had
44, 5x5.
Some 44-gallon drums and a few boxes, maybe.
Not much to show off on. A little jump ramp, maybe.
Like a
even
pyramid sort of thing out of pallets, and we try to get at some sort of high box for a
balance beam
drop.
and something.
Some balancing beams, and you just did what you could do. And as the show went on, you go, maybe I'll move that, that barrel out over there and jump off the box and try to get to the rear wheel, and just do whatever. You'd always go for more crowd pleasing results, and it was amazing. But a few things happened on that Melbourne show. One, they said, at the time there was a show called Hey It's Saturday. They were going to do something on the show, and which they did. And I think it was just, I can't even remember exactly what I did. I might have bounced around someone, the old trials thing where someone lays on the
your
ground
legs and you don't get on their nuts.
You do that sort of thing. So I think the Pluck a Duck was there or something. I remember, I think they said, like Phil Latz said, we're doing an autographing section soon, all the time thing soon. I was like, whatever. And you need to go there and do it. I was like, I'm not like, why would I do that? So anyway, you got to do it. And I had this lineup. I barely signed I think every signature I did was probably different looking.
You did, Marshy. You had a lineup out the room.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm going to get a sore wrist in a minute. So that was really, it's something
like
that
a rock star.
You did feel like, God,
just for riding
Holy
your bike
shit.
and you jump. But no one had seen anything like that before. The general public, bike trials, it doesn't. I don't know. The public doesn't see it, and at that, especially 20, 25 years ago.
And look, that was
whoa.
and that was really good for me. With all the stuff that's going on with injuries, and then, half the time I'd come back so quick and be, without floating my boat, back on top of things like straight away, and sometimes better because I'd be there for
More
a year
determined.
going, I'm going to come back better, and fortunately, body probably wasn't as much, but my mind made me ride better, and that was just so rewarding. Those little things. That's what keeps you going. That's what makes you not give up. And I've always tried to think, why me? Not don't think why me. Why me? Shit happens. It's about how you deal with it, I guess. At the end of the day. I probably need to acknowledge those words a bit more in these days.
But you're a very humble person, Mr. Marsh.
But you got to get through it. You can't sit there and I mean, look, I had some dark,
you did some
horrible
cool
times.
shit. Like so many people, and again, you weren't doing it for someone to say, "Fucking hell, that's Marshy." But your Bicycling Australia shows, the demos. You did Sydney, Melbourne, alternate years. Who are some of the boys? Again, we're going Pierce's, Weavings, Dickies. Do you remember a few of those?
Yeah.
We even had, who was the American guy that came over with the good injury thing? Lindsay Collar, Adelaide lad.
Yeah, good old Lindsay. Ryan. As if we don't know his name. As if we don't know his name. He was an absolute legend.
Yes, that's awful.
This is what happens in old age. It was...
we'll blank that bit out. We'll skip that bit out. Sorry, Ryan, we don't remember your next name. You were one of the world's legends, and we're old.
As soon as I walk out here, I'll go... I guess, look, there's a lot of highs and a lot of lows with everything. And I tell you what, I had a lot of highs and I had a lot of lows. And the little rewards of winning and exciting friends with wild move or big jump or a big boost or, that helped so much with the lonely nights, from injury. I've had great friends, obviously, really supportive friends. You guys, the Mogs, Myers. And, if it wasn't for you guys and, of course, my family, my mum, my dad, my sister, the support, that's also really important to have when you're going through shit.
It's that peak. You're the peak period of your life. And you had everything going for you. It's got to be tough.
Yeah, it was. But, anyway.
And now, okay, then move on. Everyone, yes, fully deserve all that recognition. But then life moves on. Yeah. Life moves on for everyone. Yep. We'll grow older and shit changes. Yep. We got over our injuries. We got over everything. Yeah. What floats your boat today?
Today, I mean, I still enjoy riding. I've done a few inside line races this year. I did a heap last year, did a few with Taj, so that was cool. I mean, I can't tick I'm not even a master anymore. I think there's one above that, and then I'm in the oldest one, but I can't tick that box, so I still race against the youngsters, which, funnily enough, is, kids of the dads I used to race against. So, it's I enjoy that. Enjoy my bike packing. I enjoy.
And what's your job? What's your day-to-day life? What's your 9 to 5, or do you have a 9 to 5?
Yeah, no, I'm in the bike industry still. Work at Whippet's Workshop, which is a cool little bike shop. Mainly,
you can throw a plug out to them now.
We do lots of servicing and stuff. It's cool little vibe. Lots of stuff. Lots of people come in there. It's I get pretty surprised at what they see when they come in because it's.
Where's Whippet's Workshop? If you're only listening,
it's in Stepney, Stepney Street, Stepney.
What do they sell? What do they do?
Look, we sell obviously bikes, but I guess we sell a lot more small goods. We do a lot. We do a lot of
pastrami and
serving.
salami and stuff like that.
Yeah,
or
small goods.
cashews.
Yeah, no, like lots of bite bits and pieces. He's got like Shano, the owner. He's got heaps of stuff.
Oh.
And like people come in there and go, they haven't seen a bike shop like this for a while because there's just shit everywhere. But it's like a candy store. A lot of the shops are really refined nowadays, and there's 3 helmets to choose from, and there's this, there's that. You go in there and you get like there's stuff on the wall. I don't even know what's there. So
But you got good people like you, and it sounds like you know your way around a bike.
Yeah. I mean,
you know how to change
working there.
gears and pitch the cable through the, put the bolts in the thing. I don't know.
Still working on bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, killer. Well, look, this has been so much fun, Marshy.
Yes.
I think we could dribble on here forever and ever. We could find topics about fucking everything.
There's so many more things.
And look, honestly, I don't even care if other people. I fucking really like fucking listening to this stuff and get to share this with people I know. Cherie, hello Cherie. She messaged if there's at least one person or a couple of people that are going to enjoy these stories.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But if we're wrapping up the end of it, you got any, adversity examples? You've had plenty, but how do you find the positivity at the end of that struggle? What's what do you find that has worked? It sounds like you've had more than one. You've had more than one, and it's tough, and it's slow, probably.
Yeah.
Patience.
It is. It's pretty hard, but I mean, like I say, you just look for positives and things to look forward to in the future.
And what are those things that you look forward to?
Well, different times. Doing more riding, doing other things as life goes on with kids, doing things with them. As you get a house, projects with that. I enjoy enjoy being outside in the garden and bushwalks. Just enjoying life, making the most
sunset
of life.
Walks on the beach, holding hands with your partner. You're leaving trails on the beach. Sounds
Try
beautiful.
to not do nothing. Always do something. Life's too short. You got to keep moving. You got to
give those itchy feet somewhere to move.
Yeah.
Okay, if we wrap this up, someone's having a bad day. What have you got? Some good words, just some positive words. We always try and finish on something positive. I don't know how that sits. You can breathe for a minute and just think and just go. You're on a bad day one day. There's someone listening to this, and I know there's a few people. They're having a shit time today. Today's not their best day, and Marshy, this fucking legend of a guy, he's got some magical words. And I'm going to feel inspired by this.
Yeah.
Don't feel the pressure, but I know you have something in you.
I feel the pressure. I don't know. It's not that bad. I don't know. Just look for the brighter side of life.
No, take a minute.
Yeah.
Take a minute.
I'd
stop and think and go, you're going to cheer someone up with these next words.
Yeah.
And take a breath.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess whatever it is, it's not that bad. It can only get better. So have a few deep breaths and have a stretch. I don't know. Have a few deep breaths and I don't know. Try to think of some positive things.
You do know. Take another minute. I know you've got.
I mean, look, I try not to dwell on bad things. I just try to think about positive things when things aren't feeling right mentally. I mean, I've plenty of things that go on nowadays, like, starting life over again and as an older person, trying to get another house again in the middle of this, the life after COVID and the bollocks of money and prices and, I'm not in a high earning salary job. So, times are tough, but you can't sit there and dwell on, things that you want to do, or I don't know. You just got to look for the next thing, look for the next week, keep looking ahead. I'm like, like right now, I'm really looking forward to this Christmas going to see my sister. They live on the coast in New South Wales. Every other year we go over there, so that's my focus right now. I'm gonna, pay the bills, save
Keep
up
going.
for that trip,
And tomorrow
go
morning,
have a bloody
you're going to
good
wake up.
time away.
You're going to wake up tomorrow morning, and what are you thinking?
I'm looking forward to Christmas.
Fucking brilliant. It has been so good to have you here, Marshy. So much for being a great friend. For a huge part of my life, and I love sharing some of your story, and I'd love to have you back again, and we'll do more of this. We'll dive into something else next time.
Yep.
Cheers, Mr. Marshy.
Thank you. Thanks, Al.
Thank you. We're going to call it a wrap.
Yep. Cheers.
Killer.
Thank you.